Hello and welcome to this live review of Heinz MayoMust and MayoCue. We're going to get started shortly. I'm waiting for the crowd to line up. Also, I'm going to have to, at some point, I'm going to have to disconnect the camera because I want to show you some of these things on the screen. Also, I got to warn everybody, things are going to be backwards because of this strange thing with the iPhone where you're taking live video, it's backwards. So all text is going to be backwards, but don't worry because I'm going to read it to you. Okay? Anyway, very exciting. Those of you, a little bit of recap for those of you who haven't seen some of these earlier videos. My most popular live video was the MayoCue review of Heinz MayoCue, which came out in November, and I didn't like it very much. It was a long, deep dive into the subject of MayoCue, which otherwise is known as fry sauce, golf sauce in Argentina, and in various other forms around the world. It wasn't anything special. Yet, you wouldn't know that from the way that Heinz was hyping it. Now, these are the little brother and sister of the MayoCue family, and also they're a little bit weirder because they don't have so many direct antecedents. And I'm going to get into that. If you guys, this is not going to be fast. This is going to be a little bit of a deep dive in sort of a Rachel Maddow show kind of monologue, because I think a little bit of the history and context of this is valuable before the taste test. And I've got a few other items here that will kind of enlighten your knowledge as to what the hell is going on with this whole world of mayo blank, MayoCue, MayoMust, and MayoCue. Okay? We're going to start with this. And in fact, I think I'm going to turn the camera onto the screen so that you can see it better. Again, the text is going to be backwards. Okay? Let's see here. All right. Were you guys aware that millennials killed mayonnaise? Okay, among the many other things that millennials have been killing was mayonnaise. However, as it turns out, this was total bullshit. It was based on a study from the Association for Dressings and Sauces, and yes, there is an association for dressings and sauces, that actually said that millennials are eating mayonnaise at twice the rate of their parents, okay? So, millennials didn't kill mayonnaise. It was another false alarm. And in fact, mayonnaise is doing pretty well, however, depending on who you ask. Anyway, that's not so important for this entire thing. But I wanted you guys to know that, like, this crisis in mayonnaise land is not really happening. But what is happening? You might be asking yourself, why? Why are these things being inflicted upon us? Well, here is why these are being inflicted upon you. Look at that. You see that? The two titans of the mayonnaise world. One of them is Unilever, which controls Best Foods and controls Best Foods, which is also Hellmann's. Look at their stock. Look how well it's doing. Their rival is Heinz Kraft. Heinz and Kraft merged a few years ago, and look at how they're doing. Okay? Get it? So, Heinz is in bad shape. And in fact, if I were an investing type, I might tell you to short them, because all they've been talking about in the past couple months is how great MayoCue is doing. Okay? And MayoCue, I haven't been able to find any sales figures on MayoCue. It's only been online hype. And in fact, when I go see it in the store, it doesn't look like anybody's bought any of it. So, the reason this is being inflicted upon you is because Heinz is getting desperate. Okay, so back to this screen over here. You'll see when this was introduced, people are freaking out over Heinz's new MayoMust and MayoCue condiments. I don't believe that was true, but obviously it was another attempt to hype things online, like they did with the MayoCue, with great success. Okay, so now we go back to this level of the test. All right. Get this. So, to summarize what I just said, Heinz is in bad shape, okay? Because of the fact that they had this crazy merger with Kraft, where the stock just tanked and continues to tank to this day, they're grasping at straws, which is why you saw MayoCue. Yeah, maybe they wanted to innovate. They trumpet their innovation pipeline, but I wouldn't say that I've been particularly impressed by it. So anyway, this month they came out with MayoCue and MayoMust, which I couldn't find anywhere. I had to order these online, and I got them. This product was introduced a few weeks ago. I just received it this week, and I've been taste testing it all week. I'll get to that in a minute. But I wanted you to know a little bit about where these products come from, okay? And why they're on the shelves. It's because Heinz is trying to get you to think of it as a brand of mayonnaise. Everyone has been trying to... Heinz is ketchup. Everybody in America knows that Heinz is ketchup, and that's what you've been thinking about for a long time. They've been desperately trying to force their way onto the shelves with Best Foods or Hellmann's in the mayonnaise section. And therefore, they've been releasing a lot of things with the word mayo in them. MayoChup, MayoMust, MayoCue, so that they could get space in the mayo section. Okay? So that's why this is being inflicted upon you, because they're grasping at straws. They're innovating. I mean, some could say it was good, and it was for the benefit of all. And we'll find out about that in a moment. Okay. 2 tracks here. First, we'll begin with MayoMust. Okay? This, obviously, everybody's been joking about how they couldn't call it mayo tard. Okay? Obviously, that's not the case. Obviously, they couldn't get away with calling it mayo turd. So instead, it's MayoMust, which is a strange name, and it's kind of a bizarre hybrid of condiments, because people, like, in general, people haven't really been crying out for mayonnaise combined with mustard, except for a brief period in the 90s when everybody was talking about Dijonnaise. You may recall in the 90s, Dijonnaise was a really big thing. It was a combination of Dijon mustard and mayonnaise, which somehow took America by storm for a brief period in the 90s, and then dropped off. And now you just find it like, this is actually not that easy to find, at least for me. And this is the Dijonnaise, again manufactured by Best Foods, the rival of Heinz. Okay? So the combination of mustard and mayonnaise in America is not really ever been that big a deal. However, in foreign countries, you can't see these behind me, but they're not that important. You'll see that in South America, it's a pretty big deal. Here, like, there's this mostanesa, and there's also the mostanesa supra, and there's another brand of mostanesa, none of which you can see really that well, but they're not that important. They're just brands of mostanesa, which is mustard and mayonnaise. Now, this hasn't really been a big thing in America, but I think Heinz is hoping that it might take off. Okay? Second track. MayoCue. Mayonnaise and barbecue sauce. Nobody asked for this. I scoured the internet for a mayonnaise and barbecue sauce combination, which has not... This is the first one I've been able to see. I mean, obviously people have probably been mixing it at home for certain special recipes, but in terms of a packaged barbecue and mayonnaise sauce, it's like, this is the first one, as far as I can tell. Now, the weird thing is, this is actually, if you were to combine these two, you'd be pretty close to Chick-fil-A sauce. Actually, because Chick-fil-A sauce is composed of mustard and mayonnaise and barbecue sauce with a little honey. So if you were to combine these two sauces, you would be pretty close to Chick-fil-A sauce, which is delicious. However, here we are with these two sauces. Now, let's get down to business. We're going to start with a few other things first. I already had a number of these. I already had this Dijonnaise. It's nothing special. It's just like a Dijon mustard with a little bit less tang. For people who are afraid of tang. So I'm not going to sample that on here now. But what I am going to tell you about is Best Foods did not go quietly into this battle. They are fighting back. And they've introduced, and I don't think that I've seen these anywhere until very recently, Best Foods is fighting back with their own sauces they're fighting for the same shelf space in the mayonnaise aisle. Okay? They just released these two. This spicy dipping sauce, which is supposed to be sweet and just a sweet and spicy kick, and the Best Foods classic burger sauce. Now, I'm going to start with these. Okay, I've already had them, but I want to eat them here right in front of you so that I can give you another unvarnished review. I've got these, and for this special event, I've got these lovely little stainless steel condiment cups. Now this is the Best Foods spicy dipping sauce. Okay, now, God, I just wanted to confirm my suspicion. This sauce sucks. Okay, this is one of the worst sauces I've ever had. I've had it several times this week because I just couldn't believe how bad it was. It tastes like it has some sort of fish oil in it or something, but it's blech. Don't buy this product. Now, the sister product is the Best Foods classic burger sauce. Okay, now this is something else. Okay, here's a little look at it. Okay, all right. So this is the Best Foods classic burger sauce. Now, I'm gonna have it. I'm using pretzels because they're kind of flavor neutral. This is good. I've already had all these sauces before, but I'm just confirming them live here for you today. This Best Foods burger sauce is nearly identical to Big Mac sauce. Okay? And I know there was a brief time where they were selling Big Mac sauce, and I think they do in Canada still, maybe. McDonald's does. But you can't buy anything like it on American shelves that I've seen. This is actually very close to Big Mac sauce, and it's quite good. Okay? So Best Foods, in their strange entries into this weird new mayo condiment race, has one total loser, in my opinion, and one big winner, which is this Big Mac sauce. All right? We may come back to that later. All right, now, sidebar. This introduction to this has generated a large discussion on Twitter about what condiments would you want to mix with mayo. And I think that the opinion of several people online, and including myself, was that Sriracha and mayo is the best combination of mayo and another thing. And it just so happens there already are two pre-manufactured such sauces, at least two, that I was easily able to find. This one, this just Sriracha mayo, and this Sorreo. So I'm going to have a brief dalliance with them before I get to the main event here. This is the Sorreo. That's okay. It's nothing special. It doesn't have enough zinginess from Sriracha. It's perfectly okay. Now here we go with the Just sauce. Okay, this is also a combination of Sriracha and mayo. All right. I'm cleaning my palate with Safeway Coke Zero. Okay. Meh. This is also meh. Neither of those sauces are nearly as good as just mixing Sriracha with mayonnaise at home. And I think that's what I think we may be coming to the conclusion here. Most of these sauces would be slightly better if you just mixed mayo with your own other sauce rather than buying them pre-made. It really seems like a combination of stuff for lazy people who are too lazy to mix ketchup and mayo. But I understand people are busy. They may not have time to spend doing that, or they may not have the shelf space to buy both ketchup and mayo, so they want to get mayo chip. Anyway, without all that preamble, brings us to our main event, for which you've all tuned in. These two sauces, okay? Now, Heinz MayoCue. Now, this, as I said, is a combination of mayonnaise and barbecue sauce. Okay? That's what it looks like. Okay. Here we go. This is interesting, and as I said, this is not my first time I've tried this, but with each time I get a little bit more perceptive in perhaps what I'm tasting. This seems like it's about 50-50 barbecue sauce and mayo, and it's actually pretty good. I'm going to tell you that. But before I continue, I'm going to try the MayoMust. Again, MayoMust. Someone is really having trouble. Okay, well, there's enough. All right. Here we go. MayoMust. It's kind of light. It's pretty heavy on the mayo. It's kind of a typical yellow mustard flavor in there mixed in lightly, not too strong. But here's what I'm going to say about these guys. I thought I was going to hate these, but they're actually pretty good. Okay? That begs the question, why would you ever buy them? I'm not totally sure. I did have this on a sandwich for lunch, and it was fine. It saved me the 30 or 40 seconds of spreading mayonnaise separately and mustard separately. However, if I were on a spacecraft and I had very limited shelf space and I wanted to have a condiment to take along and couldn't have both mayonnaise and mustard, I might consider this. It's actually pretty good. Now, similarly, this is actually pretty good. It's not a sauce that anyone has ever asked for or has ever been marketed in history, to my knowledge. It's also not a combination of sauces that usually go together, but it's also pretty good. Now, the downside, both of these things are, the number one ingredient in both of these is soybean oil, okay? Heinz isn't really all about the natural stuff unless you get their special natural, Simply Heinz or whatever. They got a lot of artificial ingredients, and like soybean oil, I guess, is not an artificial ingredient, but it's kind of gross. And so both of these still have that kind of plasticky flavor that you get from a why do I keep saying it wrong? A soybean oil-based product. So that's okay. I mean, it's not, the texture isn't ideal. It's a little plasticky. However, both of them allegedly have certain combination of spices in them that make them pretty good. So, like, I would say if you're super curious, I'm getting to the end here, if you're super curious about these sauces, give them a try. They're better than Mayo Chip. I will certainly say that. In my opinion, Mayo Chip was a big C-. I'm going to say that these are B pluses, and they're certainly not in the vein of any top tier sauce like Secret Aardvark sauce or boat sauce or any of those special sauces that I awarded last year. However, for a kind of like a by the numbers Heinz product that just really attempt to grab shelf space, these are both pretty good. Okay. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, Millennials did not kill mayonnaise. This has been Bill Oakley reviewing MayoMust and MayoCue. Have a great weekend.